Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text 1. Sutaha Uvacha Tatra Go Mithunam Raja Hanyamanam Anathavat Danda Hastam Cha Vrishalam Shudra. I beg your pardon now. Dadrishe Nripa Lanchanam Suta Uvacha Tatra Go Mithunam Raja Hanyamanam Anathavat Dandahastam Cha Vrishalam Dadrishe Nripalanchanam Suta Uvacha Tatra Go Mithunam Raja Hanyamanam Anathavat Dandahastam Cha Vrishalam Dadrishe Nripalanchanam Suta Uvacha Tatra Go Mithunam Raja Hanyamanam Anathavat Dandahastam Cha Vrishalam Dadrishe Nripalanchanam. Sutaha Uvacha. Sri Suta Goswami said, Tatra, thereupon, Go Mithunam, a cow and a bull, Raja, the king, Hanyamanam, being beaten, Anathavat, appearing to be bereft of their owner, Dandahastam, with a club in hand, Cha, also, Vrishalam, lower caste Shudra, Dadrishe, observed, Nripa, a king, Lanchanam, dressed like. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Suta Goswami said, after reaching that place, Maharaj Parikshit observed that a lower caste Shudra, dressed like a king, was beating a cow and a bull with a club, as if they had no owner. Purport. The principal sign of the age of Kali is that lower caste Shudras, that is, men without Brahminical culture and spiritual initiation, will be dressed like administrators or kings. And the principal business of such non-Kshatriya rulers will be to kill the innocent animals, especially the cows and the bulls, who shall be unprotected by their masters, and the bona fide Vaishyas, the mercantile community. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 44, it is said that the Vaishyas are meant to deal in agriculture, cow protection, and trade. In the age of Kali, the degraded Vaishyas, the mercantile men, are engaged in supplying cows to slaughterhouses. The Kshatriyas are meant to protect the citizens of the state, whereas the Vaishyas are meant to protect the cows and bulls and utilize them to produce grains and milk. The cow is meant to deliver milk and the bull is meant to produce grains. But in the age of Kali, the Shudra class of men are in the posts of administrators, and the cows and bulls, or the mothers and the fathers, unprotected by the Vaishyas, are subjected to the slaughterhouses organized by the Shudra administrators. Please repeat the translation. Sutta Goswami said, after reaching that place, Maharaj Parikshit observed that a lower caste Shudra, dressed like a king, was beating a cow and a bull with a club, as if they had no owner. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I think we'll manage like this. Sutta Goswami managed without a microphone. Shukadev Goswami also did. Okay. So long as you can all hear me, it's okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So the episode that's currently going on is that mother cow and father bull have met. Mother Earth has taken the form of a cow, and the principles of religion, the personified principle of religion, has taken the form of a bull. And they are sharing their woes with each other. They are very aggrieved because they have been assaulted, mistreated in many, many ways, and they are lamenting the fact that their protector and their lover, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, has departed, is no longer there, and they are both feeling intense separation from the Lord. Just at this moment, when the cow and the bull are exchanging their intimate realizations on the situation, the king of the entire earth, Maharaj Parikshit, arrives. Maharaj Parikshit is a perfect king according to the Vedic culture. He is a Raja Rishi, a king as well as a sage. Rishi means sage. In the Vedic culture, formerly, there used to be kings who were also sages. Nowadays, as the age of Kali progresses, you neither find real kings and you hardly find real sages. What to speak of the combination of kings and sages? There were sages as kings not because they renounced everything, but rather because they performed their duties as kings, as protectors of the citizens, in accordance with the principles of dharma, in accordance with the principles of scripture. They were kings because they performed the roles as given in the scriptures for a king. There are many, many duties and responsibilities given in the scriptures for a king. So they were very vigilant to see that the principles of dharma were upheld in the kingdom. They were very vigilant to see that the citizens would be protected in all circumstances. So Maharaj Parikshit was a king who was very attentive to his responsibilities, and therefore he would wander everywhere in the kingdom. He would not simply sit in his palace and enjoy royal comforts. Today, many people who are in positions of responsibility would rather just enjoy the comforts and the benefits of their position. But King Parikshit was not like that. He would move around to check whether his citizens were truly happy and whether they were actually following the true principles of religion. And if anyone was harassing the citizens in any way, he would punish those aggressors. In this way, the citizens would always feel sheltered and protected and comfortable in all circumstances. They were never in anxiety. So this was indeed an unusual situation, where the cow and the bull were thus being mistreated when Maharaj Parikshit came. And when Maharaj Parikshit saw this, he was astonished. The first cause for astonishment was that a cow and a bull were being mistreated. The second cause of astonishment was that they were being mistreated by someone who was dressed like a king, but who wasn't actually a king. He was a Shudra who was simply dressed like a king. And the third astonishing thing was that this was happening in the reign of Maharaj Parikshit. So Maharaj Parikshit was surprised when I am here as the upholder of justice and dharma, as a devotee of the Lord, how is this happening in my kingdom, during my physical presence here? So these were the three causes of astonishment as Maharaj Parikshit arrived. Of course, when one understands that the age of Kali had arrived, it is not so astonishing. Because in the age of Kali, which is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, these things are considered quite normal, and to want to protect those who should be protected is considered something abnormal. When the sages at Naimisharanya and also the sages who had gathered to hear Shukadev Goswami when he was instructing Maharaj Parikshit could not believe it when they heard that in this age of Kali, in the years to come, people would actually mistreat and kill cows and bulls. The very idea was so unthinkable, so unimaginable for them. They could not conceive of an age or a situation where cows and bulls could be mercilessly slaughtered. So when they heard that in Kali Yuga this was going to happen, they were really surprised. That how can people become so fallen, so sinful that they would kill cows and bulls? Of course, nowadays, it's not a matter of surprise. It's something so natural. In fact, you would be considered impractical or foolish if you were in the dairy business or the milk business and you didn't sell your bulls because they couldn't produce milk, or if you didn't sell your cows when they became old. Everything nowadays is utilitarian in the sense that so long as something is useful to me, I will keep it, I will protect it. And when it ceases to be useful, then I will discard it. Even if it means that I have to sell it to the slaughterhouse. This is the reason why crime, terrorism, natural disasters, hostility amongst people, wars and so on are simply increasing. Srila Prabhupada explains that there are two sinful activities in particular that have caused very severe reactions that have come to the present day world in the form of natural disasters and wide-scale slaughter of human beings even. And these two sinful activities are, number one, the killing of cows, mass slaughter of cows on a worldwide scale unprecedented in the history of the world. And second is abortion, the killing of the helpless child in the womb. Both sins are considered very grave because, number one, they involve killing of helpless creatures. A cow or a bull is helpless when controlled by a human, tied up by a human by force and then slaughtered. The animals have no way to protect themselves. So they are helpless. Srila Prabhupada in some purport says that the cows and bulls are the representatives of the most offenseless creatures, and therefore to kill them is a great sin. Similarly, the children in the womb are also completely at the mercy of the mother and others around her. They are completely helpless and unable to protect themselves. Many years ago, maybe a decade, maybe 2 decades ago, there was a famous film that caused a sensation worldwide. And that film was called The Silent Scream. It was not made by any devotee. It was made by someone in the outside world. And this person, by some medical technology, he was able to film actually what was going on inside the mother's womb as the abortion was about to take place. Abortion is actually speaking in blunt terms, slaughter. Even though modern society would not like to face the fact, and they would not like to inform the mothers especially about what abortion really involves, because the mother would probably cringe and change her mind if she knew what was actually going on in the process of abortion. They just pass it off as being a harmless removal of tissues in the body. But actually, the killing or the abortion process involves very cruel, merciless slaughter of the baby in the womb. There are different techniques which we will not go into because we are sitting here in a temple in front of the deities. But it involves things like crushing the body of the baby, cutting it to pieces within the womb. These surgical procedures are there. And this particular movie actually showed how the baby was cringing in fear as the instrument for killing it approached it. The baby was cringing and trying to move away, but there was no way the baby could move because there was no place to move away, and the baby was helpless. So this film caused a sensation everywhere. But of course, the materialistic and sinful civilization is so strong that such things are soon forgotten, and other rationalizations and explanations are given for this. Similarly, with the helpless slaughter of the cows and the bulls. Most people who eat meat, just as most people who get themselves aborted, don't understand what actually goes on in the process of abortion. Similarly, most people who eat meat don't understand what happens in the slaughterhouse. There was some famous person who said that if slaughterhouses had glass walls, then everybody would become vegetarian. Because they would now be able to see what actually goes on within the slaughterhouses, the kind of cruelty that goes on. Even though modern day slaughterhouses in the Western world may have many norms in place of how they should be stunned and killed with minimum pain and so on and so forth, but the fact is that there is slaughter. They are killed mercilessly. And in other countries, even like in India, and what to speak of other countries where there is no such sensitivity and where there are no such rules in place even, they are also horribly killed. So by the laws of karma, this pain and suffering that we are causing to the innocent, offenseless living beings, the cow, will come back to us. It will come back in the form of massive natural disasters, in the form of hatred and crime and war where people kill each other, and it causes a complete vanishing of the principles of mercy and mutual understanding. People now become merciless towards each other. The spirit of brotherhood and love, kindness, compassion, all these qualities disappear the more we indulge in the violence of killing animals like the cow. So the karmic reaction is terrible, and people do not realize this. But gradually, there is an awareness that is coming up. As far as the cow is concerned, why is the cow special? Sometimes people ask. Well, we can understand that killing animals is not good. It causes pain to them and so on. But then why do you people, as devotees of Krishna, object in particular to the killing of the cow? And the answer is that even though killing of all sorts of animals is abominable and objectionable, the killing of the cow or the bull is particularly so because the cow is considered to be the mother and the bull is considered to be the father. We were discussing this briefly, probably day before yesterday, in the morning. Because the cow is the one who gives milk, just like the mother, and the bull is the one who tills the fields to give us the grains, just like the father maintains the family. So the cow is one of the 7 mothers as given in the Vedas, and therefore she deserves our service, our love, our worship, and our protection. If we sell away the cows and the bulls and kill them, that is like selling away our elderly parents when they are not able to earn money for us or provide for us and so on. So in any civilized society, the elderly people, the helpless people, the offenseless people are looked after. If any society doesn't protect those segments of the society that are helpless and offenseless, it is considered an uncivilized society. In modern day society, we see that elderly people are no longer looked after by their children, and they have to either fend for themselves or they are sent to old age homes where the state looks after them, or perhaps because of their savings they have a lot of money so they can engage professional people to look after them. And in many cases, in many countries of the world, there is no one to look after them. So how can we claim to be a civilized world? What is the standard of civilization? Is merely having some technological progress and having a lot of vibrant economics and global trading and being one global village world over with internet and spaceships, is that really just a sign of our progress? Merely because we have so much advanced technology and commerce and we have become so sophisticated, does it mean we have actually made progress? No. Progress has to be seen in terms of advancement of these finer values of humanity. Even on the human level, we are not advanced because we are thoughtlessly slaughtering helpless beings. So how can we claim to be actually advanced in our civilization? So the cow and the bull, being mother, deserve special protection. The cow, actually in many cases, they are part of the family. In the Western world, the cow is simply seen as a machine for milk. And therefore, when the machine no longer gives milk, you sell it. It's as simple as that. But in the Vedic culture, the cow is not seen simply as a machine for milk, even though milk is considered one of the most valuable products that the cow can give. The cow actually becomes a member of the family that looks after it. We see that Krishna taught by his own personal example how to look after cows. And therefore his name is Gopal or Govinda. Gopal because he is the protector of the cows. Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows. Krishna personally showed when he appeared on this earth 5,000 years ago how humanity should protect the cows and the bulls. Every morning after rising, he would go into the Goshala of his father Nanda Maharaj and he would personally milk the cows with his own lotus hands. And he would stroke them, gently caress them, speak sweet words to them, and the cows would be pacified after the night-long separation from Krishna. The cows were accustomed to being with Krishna all day long in the grazing lands of Vraj. And when the time came to return home into the cow sheds, they would feel morose because they would not be able to see Krishna all night. And then early in the morning, they would start mooing because they were waiting for Krishna to come and milk them. And many times the cowherd men also would get frustrated because the cows would refuse to get milked by them and they would want to get milked only by Krishna. So then Krishna would come in, milk the cows, and then the cows were ready to now go for grazing. And they would be eager and impatient. They would be stomping their feet, they would be mooing loudly. When will Krishna take us into the forest? We want to be with Krishna. And as soon as Krishna finished all his duties like taking his morning meals, prasadam, Mother Yashoda would dress him up, decorate him, and then he would go along with his cowherd boyfriends and the hundreds of thousands of cows into the forest. And the atmosphere would be positively jubilant, inasmuch as the cows would be eager to be with Krishna. The cowherd boys, who were the childhood friends of Krishna, were also equally eager. Now they would spend the day frolicking and having fun with Krishna in the forests, playing various sorts of games, imitating the birds and the animals, having prasadam which was sent by their parents, the mothers. They would tease each other, run and play games. And in this way the cows and the cowherd boys would enjoy the company of Krishna all day long, from the early morning hours till the evening when it was time to return to the village. The residents of the village would try to remember Krishna all through the day by singing about him, by glorifying him, remembering him. The Srimad Bhagavatam explains that there were professional, that there was poetry composed, and Mother Yashoda and the other gopis would be singing these songs about Krishna's pastimes. And mostly they were songs that happened just yesterday or recently. The Acharyas explained that there were professional poets who lived in Vrindavan. And their business would be that whenever reports came in from the cowherd boys or from the gopis about Krishna's pastimes, either in the grazing fields of the forests of Vrindavan or within the village, so they would immediately compose poems or songs about these pastimes. And they would sing them, set it to music and sing them. And very quickly this would become well known in the village. And all the gopis would learn these songs. And as they were churning butter or going about their household chores, they would sing these songs which glorified the wonderful pastimes that Krishna had recently performed. This is Vrindavan, where the consciousness of the residents was entirely absorbed in Krishna's pastimes. Hearing and chanting about Krishna and serving Krishna was all that the Vrajavasis were concerned about. They had no other purpose in their life. This was the only activity which gave them pleasure. Everything they did was actually for Krishna's pleasure. And the cows played such an important role for Krishna. So he would, even from childhood, be with the cows and the bulls and the calves actually, even as he was a child. Shukadeva Goswami describes in the Srimad Bhagavatam that as a child, as children, Krishna and Balaram would go to the Goshala, and sometimes they would mischievously catch hold of the tails of the calves, and the calves would get alarmed that someone had caught their tails, and they would jump and frolic and run hither and thither, and they would drag Krishna and Balaram along on the floor which was full of straw and hay and cow dung. And then Krishna and Balaram's bodies would get smeared with cow dung, and the gopis would be watching all this with great enjoyment, and they would clap their hands sometimes, and then they would lift up the bodies of Krishna and Balaram. So the bodies of Krishna and Balaram being smeared with cow dung and cow urine was not considered something that was dangerous to their health. It was not considered something that would cause an epidemic, or they would be rubbed with antiseptic and some fumigation or whatever was done, and something was kept in quarantine or something like that. Because actually cow dung is considered the best antiseptic, the best fumigant, the best cleansing agent. In fact, so much so that when time comes to purify the altar or prepare it for some very special occasion, then even the altar of the Lord is cleaned with cow dung and cow urine. This is how pure the cow dung and cow urine is considered to be in the Vedic scripture. Generally, the waste matter of living entities are considered impure. And for us, the standards of worship are so strict that we have to come onto the altar only after we have taken bath. And not just that, if we have eaten something before coming in, we should not come in the altar in the same clothes that we had when we were eating. So strict are the standards. And after we have gone to visit the toilet or something, we should take bath before we come. So the normal waste matter that living beings give out is considered very impure, and certainly it is unthinkable that there can be any connection of these substances with something pure like the worship of the deity. But so pure is the cow that its dung and urine is considered not just suitable for being used on the altar, but even for cleansing the altar. So we can just get an understanding of how important the cow and bull are when we see that their waste matter are so pure. Srila Prabhupada many times refers to this when he gives examples of how the Vedic literatures are to be considered absolute evidence. Sometimes people ask, what is the proof of what is said in the Vedas? And Prabhupada used to explain that the Vedas are self-evident. The Vedas are their own proof. The Vedas don't need to be proven by something outside of themselves. The fact that some statement is made in the Vedas is proof enough. And then Prabhupada illustrates this with an example or two. He gives the example that bones of living beings are also considered impure. Bones, flesh, and so on. But the conch shell is also like a bone. It's also the body or the bone of a living entity. But that is considered very pure. We keep it on the altar. We use it, in fact, to blow. The sound that emanates from a conch shell is considered something auspicious. Before we begin an arati ceremony, then we blow the conch shell because the sound is auspicious. So even though bones in general are impure, but the conch shell is considered very pure. Similarly, the dung of any animal is considered impure, but the dung of the cow is considered very pure. Why so? Because the Vedas declare it. And that is enough evidence for us. So if the dung of the cow is declared by the Vedas to be so pure, then how important and how pure is the cow? So this is the Vedic culture. So the cows and the bulls, their importance can be gauged by this one little thing. And the cow dung and the cow urine then of course can be used for so many other things which are useful for humanity. Nowadays many types of research have been done, and there was a report that came out some years ago, which showed that in Russia they smeared houses with cow dung, and they found that they acted as protective agents against radioactivity, against nuclear radiation. And there are so many other benefits. Even today, in houses, in villages in India, the ladies will preserve their cow dung very nicely. And they will smear the interiors of the houses, the floors, and often the walls even, with cow dung. They will mix it with water and smear it everywhere because it is considered very purifying and very auspicious. Those of you who have been to Vrindavan or Vraj or have traveled around to different places of Krishna's pastimes in Vraj, in the rural areas, you would have seen that there are, in every village, there are stacks of cow dung. The village women in particular, they get all the cow dung and then they wait for it to dry, or even before it has completely dried, they make patties of it. Looks something like a pizza, a big round pizza. And they're just like you make a thick chapati, they make it and they leave it to dry. And once they are dried, then that's considered like a treasure. And they keep it. And out of mud and cow dung, they construct some little houses for them. And they stack up these cow dung cakes in these little homes, which may be a few feet high, maybe 3 feet or 4 feet high. And they keep using them as fuel. And the food that is cooked from this cow dung is delicious. What we have forgotten today is real taste of real food. Because our foodstuffs are cooked in such an artificial manner. We cook on microwave, through electricity, through liquefied petroleum gas, and such things. You see, what makes food delicious? There are many factors that make food delicious. And it's not only the food itself. It's not only the quality of the food itself. That's an obvious factor for deciding whether food is delicious or not. But even the kind of utensils you cook it in, the kind of fuel that you use to heat the food also determines the quality or the taste of the food. And of all the different fuels that can be used for making food delicious, cow dung is considered the best fuel. The next is wood. You burn wood. Then of course there's charcoal. And you go down the line, and in this hierarchy, last and positively the last is microwave. Actually, microwave, there are even studies nowadays that show that microwave heating is very poisonous, it's toxic, it causes great harm. So we shouldn't cook or heat things in microwave ovens. It's very, very harmful for health. With all this radiation and everything coming, it is so artificial. So in any case, food cooked with cow dung is so delicious. And then the cow dung, or even otherwise when it is used to fertilize the soil, that cow dung is a natural food for the soil. So the soil becomes nourished with all kinds of nutrients that are necessary for facilitating the growth of the crops and other plants. The cow dung and the cow urine, when it's present, also takes care of the pests and keeps them away. So the pests do not come to eat the crops. And the farmers can have a bountiful crop. So cow dung, cow urine have so many wonderful benefits. Even medicines are made out of cow dung and cow urine. Sometimes when they combine with different other types of herbs. In Ayurveda, there is a whole branch of therapy which is called Panchagavya therapy. Panchagavya refers to the 5 products of the cow. Which are the 5 products of the cow? Remember? Cow dung, cow urine, milk, ghee, yogurt or curd. So this is called Panchagavya. And each of these 5 has specific curative or therapeutic properties. And they are meant for certain specific types of ailments. And Ayurveda gives a very detailed explanation of all these things. So just see how valuable is the cow and the bull. We cannot imagine the value. And therefore it is all the more tragic that modern society, not realizing this value, is simply sending them to the slaughterhouse. In the villages in India, even till today, many villagers will consider the cows and bulls like their own family members. And when the cow or the bull dies, they cry, just like they would if a family member had died. They look after the cows and bulls, they keep them in their own house. The Goshala is just an extension of the house basically. And they look after them with great love and care. One of my favorite incidents that I narrate is something that I read in a magazine that is published by some environmentalists in India. And there was a big agricultural fair in New Delhi. And farmers from different parts of India had been invited to participate. And they all came there, and there was a state-wise exhibition. So farmers from the different states of India were placed in different stalls and various activities were going on. And there was a federal or central minister of the government of India who happened to hail from a certain state. And he was also going around, and he came across a farmer from his own state. And he saw him and began to talk to him in his own language, in his native language. And he said, "You have these bulls here. The world has moved ahead. The world has made so much advancement. There is so much technology now. In the modern age, people are using tractors. And you are still stuck with these bulls. If you like, I can arrange some loans for you. Very low interest or no interest loans. I am a minister. And I will arrange these loans for you so you can get a tractor. And you can produce so much more, you can do so much more work, rather than just being stuck in the old days with these bulls. So shall I arrange this for you?" So the farmer was actually a very simple man, probably even illiterate, but he was also very wise. You see, being literate or being academically educated in the university doesn't necessarily mean one is wise. One may have information about computer technology or about literature or something like that, but that doesn't necessarily mean one is wise. But this man was wise, the farmer. He said, no sir, I would not like this. I'm quite happy with what I have. So the minister was surprised. He said, "I'm giving you this offer. Okay, you don't have to pay it back. I'll gift you this tractor." So the farmer said no. So the minister was surprised. He said, "Why?" He was curious to know the answer. So the farmer replied, and his reply floored the minister. The minister was left speechless, and he simply walked away from there. Maybe he was exasperated, maybe he felt that this person is really backward or he doesn't want to be helped, what can I do? For whatever reason, but either way the minister was left speechless. And what was the answer that this farmer gave for refusing the tractor? He said, "Sir, I don't want the tractor because the tractor can't love me." Such a simple answer. But the minister had no answer, no reply to that. Meaning thereby that the cow and the bull were part of the family of the farmer. The farmer and his family members would love the cows and the bulls would love them as well. The bulls performed such valuable work for the family. They would go out into the field and till the fields and perform many other agricultural and domestic operations, because of which the farmer and his family could live, they could survive, they could get grains and vegetables and so on. So this is the relationship of the cow and the bull with the human being. It's not an ordinary thing. Nowadays, of course, people would rather have cats and dogs and have them as pets in their house because they're missing something valuable. First and foremost, they don't have this kind of relationship with human beings. So the only thing left is they would rather have cats and dogs as pets in their house. And sometimes there are dozens and dozens of cats and dogs in one person's house. I actually saw this in Bombay many years ago as I was going up, and through a window I saw this elderly lady with what must have been at least 24 cats. There were cats and cats everywhere, all over the house, everywhere. There were just cats and cats. Because they don't get that emotional nourishment through human beings, the younger generation doesn't look after them, or even the others, contemporaries also probably don't have that relationship with them, so they're left alone. But they need some companionship. And at least the cats will not backbite, will not gossip about them, will not reveal their secrets of their home. The cows, the cats and dogs are at least faithful. They will not be treacherous to us. So people nowadays prefer to have cats and dogs. So all this has come because of a decline in certain very basic values, decline in godliness. So when we cultivate the values of mercy, of taking care of the cows and the bulls, then everything automatically will change. Srila Prabhupada made a very prophetic statement. He said, people in this world do not know that simply by keeping the cows and the bulls happy, human society can become very happy. A very significant statement. Simply by keeping the cows and the bulls happy, the entire human society can become happy. Such a unique formula for the happiness of human society. Human society does not need all kinds of modern technological gadgets to be happy. You look at the children of today. No matter how many modern electronic gadgets you give them, and all the time they're playing with these gadgets. All sorts of video games and iPads and iPods and so many things, but they're still restless, not happy. Whereas the children in the older days would be out in the fields, chasing the birds, climbing trees, stealing fruit from the neighbor's orchard, and having fun in general, and life was so happy. Swimming in the nearby pond and the rivers. Life was so blissful. And now we have our children all day just punching numbers and things into their instruments. The children today don't know what happiness is. They don't even know where milk comes from. When some children in Bombay city were asked, where does milk come from? They said it comes from the polythene bag. Because they had probably never seen a cow in their life. They don't know what a cow is. So this is our progress. This is our advancement of civilization. So the Srimad Bhagavatam makes us understand the reality what is real life, what is real civilization. Real civilization is Brahminical culture. And what is Brahminical culture that Srila Prabhupada talks about here in the purport? Brahminical culture principally involves serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna and doing all those things in society that will help us to serve Krishna. And one of the important things or the elements of this Brahminical culture which facilitates service to Krishna is the protection of the cows and the bulls. Therefore, King Parikshit, as an ideal king, was very alert to see that this was done. And therefore he was quite shocked when he came across a person disguised as a king who was actually of a low mentality, who was physically beating a cow and a bull. And what Maharaj Parikshit did after that, if you would like to know, you will have to attend the subsequent Bhagavatam classes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So are there any questions? Yes, Mahatma.
Maharaj, you mentioned about that film about abortion. So what is the name of the film? Was it produced by Bombay Industry?
No, it was published in the West. The title of the film was The Silent Scream. The Silent Scream, because they could see the actual baby screaming inside, but you couldn't hear it. Yes.
Maharaj, whatever instructions we take from the past, how can we practically use this in today's day? If I want to practically implement something from the life, what can I do?
Okay, the question is that how can we practically do something about what we have heard in today's class in terms of protecting the cows and the bulls? Well, it's a tough question because of the way our whole lifestyle is now, the way our sources of livelihood are, and the way our society in general is structured. But I would say first and foremost, let us be convinced about this principle. That's the most important thing. We should be convinced of the various elements of Vedic culture and lifestyle as given in the Srimad Bhagavatam and as explained by Srila Prabhupada on numerous occasions. So we should understand the principle of why our cows and bulls need to be protected and all the different dimensions and the kind of lifestyle that was there based on the cows and bulls in the Vedic culture. So being convinced about this and understanding this would be the first step. Another step, I guess, would be that when the occasion permits or when the occasion is suitable, that we talk about this to others as well. Just like now the occasion has come because the verse and the purport are speaking about this subject. So we speak at length about this. So wherever the opportunity permits, you could inform others about this. Third, Srila Prabhupada specifically wanted the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to have many farm projects worldwide where devotees would practice simple living, high thinking. And one of the main activities in these farm projects, these self-sufficiency farm projects, was looking after cows, protecting cows and bulls, so that an example could be set for the whole world. And we do have globally many farm communities in ISKCON that actually do this. But of course we could do with many more. The fourth thing we could do perhaps is to practically, if those devotees who are inclined for this kind of life in any country of the world, who are actually doing farming or agriculture, who have that ability to actually do this. Take it up as a source of livelihood and also supply cow milk, pure cow milk, which is ahimsa milk, karma-free milk, to the devotee community and to the world at large. Because now whatever milk is available in the market is milk that is produced by cows that are eventually sent to slaughter. So if there are some devotees who have that ability, that inclination, that capacity, that kind of drive, then you can have such projects. There are some devotees in the UK, for example, who are doing this. They use their Vaishya skills. They have approached certain farmers, local farmers, natives who are not devotees. And they said, look, you keep aside these few cows aside, don't send them to the slaughterhouse. Let's do this experiment. Let's do this project cooperatively together. You keep them, house them separately, look after them separately, account for them separately. And then whatever milk that comes, we will buy from you at a higher price. And then whatever offspring come from this group of cows, you don't sell these cows, neither do you sell their offspring. Whatever generations of offspring come from these cows and bulls, you protect them, keep them. And naturally the cost of milk would rise. Why is the cost of milk so low today? It's practically as cheap as water, bottled water. Practically. When I was in UK, I actually asked them, and actually emerged like that. That cow's milk, a liter of cow's milk was just a little more expensive than just some special brands of bottled water. So how is it that they're able to make everything so cheap? Number one, because they don't have to maintain so many cows and bulls. As soon as there are bull calves born, they sell them. So they don't have to maintain them. So the cost of maintaining these animals is not there anymore. Plus, because you've sold these animals to the meat industry, you get some income. Secondly, whenever the cows become old and they don't produce milk sufficiently, they sell them. So now they don't have to maintain these cows as well in their old age. Plus, they get the income from selling the cows to the slaughterhouses. Thirdly, they cramp them up in small areas. Probably they don't send them for grazing. So the requirement for land and so on is less, so they save money like that as well. Plus, they inject these animals with all kinds of chemicals and so on to increase the milk production. So they get more milk. Plus, they also feed them with all kinds of chemical-based foodstuffs which they mix in the hay, which also increases the milk production. Then they have all kinds of artificial milking methods through machines and so on to increase the efficiency, to extract even more milk. So they reduce their labor costs, so their costs go further down. So the whole exercise becomes very, very impersonal, just machine-based. The cow is also just a machine. So by doing all these things, they are able to drive down the price of milk almost to the price of water. Whereas if you actually didn't sell the cows and the bulls, if you didn't feed them all kinds of wrong substances, if you actually let them graze and live their natural life, if you looked after them personally with love and care, and milk them with your own hands, just as Krishna did, then the milk would be far more expensive. In Krishna's time, there was no expense for the cows. Because the cows would go and graze in the forest, and the forest was freely available for anyone and everyone. So Nanda Maharaj didn't have to spend money to feed the cows. He had 900,000 cows. So they were all fed free because it was available in nature. But nowadays, the farmer has to spend money to buy all these feeds. But if there is sufficient grazing land and the cows go out and graze, then the cows are well fed and they don't get fed up. Because you look after them nicely with love and care. But in today's circumstances, even with that, the price of the milk goes up. So those who want to purchase the milk that is produced under these circumstances, that is karma-free and filled with devotion, will naturally have to pay a much higher price. And by much higher price we mean something that could be as high as 3 to 4 times higher than the price of commercially available milk. So if people are willing to pay that kind of price, then it can be done. And those who are inclined, who have this kind of skill or the ability to do it, could do this kind of work, maybe together with others. So these are a few thoughts. Or one could support programs that do such things, either ISKCON self-sufficiency farm projects, financially or in terms of any other service and so on and so forth. So these are some of the things that we could do. So it's 9 o'clock, it's quite late. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hare Krishna.